Hey, welcome back to the Abundant OD podcast. Today we're talking with Dr. Jennifer Martin Maples. She's an optometrist, an educator, and the founder of I Teach LLC, which we're going to be learning hopefully a whole lot about here today. So, Jennifer, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me today. This is great.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. So, I know obviously you're an optometrist. Tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what led you into this profession. I mean, is this something that optometry something you've always wanted to do, or did that realization come later in life for you?
So it was throughout my school years and undergraduate. I was trying to hone in what I really wanted to do. I knew it was in healthcare or science or being a teacher. So I went through all these iterations of what I wanted to do. And optometry actually kind of included all those things because I get to be an educator and a detective. And so there's a lot of different skill sets you use in optometry, which I've really enjoyed the past, 20 years now, 25 years.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, very good. Very good. So you've worked in industry for a while. I mean, we were chatting before. You've had a private practice or solo practice, and then you moved on into the practice you're at now. Where does I Teach come in all of this? I mean, in terms of how did you find the need to go out and start I
Yeah.
Teach? Yeah.
Well, I have a really strong drive to teach. So I teach my patients all day, but I really want to be more involved in the teaching aspect. And I saw a big gap in like what patients were getting from me versus like what they would tell me about other experiences they'd had. A lot of it was nice for me because it was praise, but it was also, well, you should feel like you're seen and heard everywhere. Like everyone should be explaining your diagnoses to you in a way you understand it and listen to your problems and really pay attention to what's going on. So I saw a gap there where for some reason the communication piece was kind of not hitting for the patients. So initially I started out as a communication. I wanted to coach communication, teach communication, do trainings. And then I quickly realized that the foundation of good communication is being present and having good self-care habits. So there's a whole lot more that goes into it. So now I'm more of a holistic educator about communication, but also like how everything else ties into it and how communication can help prevent burnout. That's a big topic that's been a new study came out not too long ago about that. So that was another thing that kind of led me to kind of be more holistic approach with it. So,
Okay. All right. So I'm going to back up for a second, but
yeah.
then I want to revisit that because I want you to unpack that a little bit more if you can. Back up just for a moment, and maybe in case some of our listeners don't know, what is the basis of I Teach? What is it? What do you do?
Sorry. So I initially started out as a training to help providers communicate more effectively with their patients and
Okay.
create trust and connection, which would obviously will help with patient outcomes and as a nice side effect, increase revenue. But then, like I said, I quickly realized there's more to it than just like knowing what to say and how to say it and body
Mhm.
language and things like that. There's a lot more involved.
Okay. So you run this do you do one-on-one consultations and trainings with people or group trainings or some of all
Yeah,
of
so
it?
right
Or
now I'm doing one-on-one consultations and just kind of
okay.
getting some research and going about it that way. But that's my hope is to offer more of a group setting because that's part of what helps you to stay present and in conversation with patients is having a good support group so you don't
Mhm.
get burnt out and that type of thing. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, no, that's cool. So one of the things with group programs, and especially around, this is a little sidebar, right? But with group programs and especially around like communication and things like that, like early on in my career, like I've been a part of a lot of trainings and group programs throughout the years, and you probably have your fair share as well. And one of the things that I started out accountant, introvert, sort of self, like my personality style, like I despised anytime I show up and they wanted to role play. But I've since learned to embrace that and love it as part of the process. We don't get better without practicing these skills that somebody like you would be teaching us, right?
Yes.
So do you have
I've,
role play in your consultations?
Absolutely. So that's the
Yeah,
best way to learn is to do it, right?
right.
So yeah, that's one of the big foundations is to practice what we're teaching and give feedback like what went well for you last week, what did you have trouble with, that kind of thing. So, but the role play is essential because you're retraining your brain to be ready, so you don't have to think about it. You know.
For sure. I think that's what helped me. embrace it as well. And well, in part, just to like really simplify it down was, I agree with everything you're saying, of course. The simplest way I think about it and the way I think I embraced it initially was that like this is a new skill. I'm probably gonna make mistakes or screw up at it first before I get it right. So I'd rather make mistakes in the classroom and screw up in front of people who
Yeah.
can help me as
Yeah.
opposed to somebody who might judge me or not come back to see me because of a mess up that I made, right? So
Yeah.
that
And I'm
ends
a
up
strong
okay.
believer if you're not failing at something, you're not really growing. So
Sure.
you have to accept that. Like when you're learning something new, you're not going to know it already, obviously.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Very.
obvious, but so easily forgotten.
Yeah, it's just, oh, we think we can hear it once. Our lives are changed. And it might be great ideas and great things that we're learning, but no, it's gonna take you a hot minute to get into that mode and that way of thinking. And like you said, to have it be almost like your new habit or to be a reflex to just go to
Hmm.
that framework that you just introduced to. So very nice. So okay, so let's unpack this a little bit more then, because earlier I heard you say that different self-care habits can help me drive revenue in a practice and increase patient outcomes. So talk to me a
Yeah.
little bit about how all that's interconnected. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. Sounds like a long bridge, but it's really not. So if you show up for your patients and you're fully present, that requires a little bit of work on the front end. You got to work on
Hmm.
yourself and not work on yourself like you're not right. You got to make yourself right, but just work on taking care of yourself and your mind, your body with different practices, but so that you can fully be present in the room. And when you're not present, you at least notice it and then you come back to being present. So, because if you're thinking about what you're going to make for dinner when you're trying to tell your patient something, you're going to kind of not really, the message won't really land as well if you're not fully present. So that's a lot of what I teach in addition to the specific communication skills is taking care of yourself and mindfulness, like practicing with your mind to notice your thoughts so you don't get carried away with them when you really should be focused on something else. So
Okay. So it's kind of like these ideas of what just, well, just like you're saying, but I hear you saying like being present and taking care of yourself. Like usually when it comes up for me in my line of work, it's more so surrounding like a common example, maybe like financial troubles at home or even financial troubles in the practice, right? In the business. Or sometimes it's not all about finances either. Sometimes it's like a heavy dose of just people running thin, right? I heard you mention
mhm.
burnout and then is helping that before. And so if you've got like these stresses on your mind, like how is it possible for us to show up fully and be fully present for that patient that's in front of us that doesn't really have anything to do with any of the other stresses in our life and they want to understand their diagnosis and get a high quality level of care. How can, without what you're teaching, like how can that happen? I don't think it can.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. You kind of have to practice to be able to reroute your brain wiring so that you can be more present. Even though that's going on right now, I'm with you, and that's what I'm doing. That's the only thing I'm doing
Mm,
is talking with my patient, and the patient feels that it's
mm,
palpable for them. So they know when you're distracted and that type of thing. And that's not to say I do it perfect every time because some patients will leave and I'll be like, oh, I feel like I didn't really connect with them like I wanted to. But that's just data for next time to do
sure.
better. So,
Okay. All right. Out of curiosity, do you have one or two kind of go to like practical tips for people? Because like when I hear practice mindfulness, I think of one thing, but I don't know if that's what you mean or not. So do you have
yeah.
a practical tip in terms of if this is brand new to somebody, just a practical thing on what does that mean? Or let's say if you need more of an example, I'd be interested to know if I am going through my day and seeing that like I'm just off, right? Like, how do when it's one thing to talk about it in a podcast or in a classroom type of setting or a consultation call. It's another thing to be going through the day, right? We all know this, to be going through the day and actually build this muscle of awareness that, oh, I'm not my best self at the moment and I need to kind of take a step back or there's just a moment and recalibrate myself before I move on. Like, how does one build that type of awareness or at least start to? Because I know it's probably a process.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people hear mindfulness and they're just like, I don't have time for that. I'm not going to meditate. Because that's
Yeah.
a lot of times people equate meditation, which it is. Meditation is the best way I feel like to practice mindfulness. but you can do it on the fly as well. So it doesn't have to be sitting on the floor cross-legged in a bad posture for your body for 30 minutes at a time. So open awareness is probably the go-to for new beginning learning mindfulness, where you're just driving down the street and you can feel your hands on the steering wheel. How does that feel? What do you hear? What do you see? And just kind of being more aware of your surroundings. And then the other thing I'll add about mindfulness is a lot of people are like, my mind's too busy. I can't do that. That's not the point, isn't to clear your mind. The point is to see your thoughts and know they're just thoughts and not get carried away with them and go down this big, long thought process, but just say, oh, there's a thought. I'm thinking about that again. And then go back to your breath or whatever your focus might be. But it doesn't have to be a sit down for 30 minutes thing. I do recommend like maybe 5 minutes in the morning if you can do it. But even if you don't have time for that, just touch points throughout the day. When you get used to doing this, you'll recognize I have a minute. I'm going to just be quiet, take a few deep breaths and see what I hear. What do I feel? And tune into your body too. That's a whole nother topic, but yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right. So yeah, no, I think that's really smart. Part of what I heard you saying there was just starting the practice when you're not just starting to practice it in low stress situations, right?
Yes.
In the morning, on your drive. Those, if you have stresses going on in your life, they still may be stressed, but they're not as stressful as being in the middle of a full day's work or whatever it is you've got on your plate that day. Okay. Very cool. So as you're starting and growing iTeach, what have been like, have you run into some tough challenges kind of taking these ideas to other optometrists? I mean, I think it kind of hit on one a little bit. I don't know if there was a specific example or not for you about mindfulness and people going to thinking about meditation and kind of shutting down that idea before they heard you out, essentially. But if it's that or something else, what have been some of the toughest challenges you've had bringing some of your ideas through iTeach into
Yeah.
reality and consulting people with it?
So one of the things is calling out the people that need me. So
Mm,
because a lot of them don't recognize they're in burnout until later, which is my own experience because looking back, I've been in burnout a few times and I was like, oh yeah, that's what that was. But when you're in the middle, you don't realize it. You're like up to here with it and you're like, I'm fine. What?
sure.
So a lot of us that strive to be perfect and want to do everything we can to do the right thing and keep going no matter what, because we want to be seen as dependable and trustworthy and being able to do everything. So just learning to try to get people to see that is probably one of the biggest challenges. To call out like the way that it feels when you're in burnout is what I've been kind of switching to, like the frustration and being irritated with people and sometimes just feeling like you're the only one that gets this. Like, why does nobody else care about this? It's only me. And I just don't have enough time. Like, why can't I get all this done? And then there's even some shame that creeps in, and which I think is also what some people's hang up on calling it what it is, burnout, because the shame of it, because they feel like they should be able to handle this. We're taught to be tough and you should be able to brush it off, but walk it off, I guess. But I think sometimes we equate burnout with some shame. Something's wrong with us,
Sure.
but it's not.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's
I can
been one of
see
the
that.
challenges, just trying to find the right language to connect with the people that need me.
Sure. Okay. Interesting. No, I can totally see that though. Plus, there's something about the term burnout, like I'm burned out, that just seems, I don't know. I've always thought of that term as having some level of finality to it, which is
Yes.
not the case, right?
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
said we can move in and out of that state of being. But I think there's something to that term, at least for me. I don't know if it's for anybody else, where it's just like when I hear it, I think, well, I wouldn't call myself that because I'm not done, right? Or
Yeah,
something
exactly. Yeah.
like I'm not ready to hang it up. So,
Yeah.
okay, interesting. So you're playing with different languages and a different messaging then to perhaps get in. So I think you answered part of this a little bit as you were talking, but like, are there other ways that we can identify if we're in that state of at risk of burnout or maybe even there?
Yeah, the body tells you a lot of times because if you just feel tired for no reason, you get enough sleep. That's one of the foundations I teach too, is to make sure you get enough
Okay.
sleep. But even if you're getting enough sleep and you're still tired and all the time and just feel like you don't have enough time in the day to do everything you need to do, being tired for a long time is a good signal that your body will send you. Another
Okay.
one is an emotion of resentment. So if you have resentment towards someone or something, it's because you haven't set a good boundary around it. If you resent doing charting when you get home, that's because you're doing charting when you get home and you don't want to. So don't do it. You got to get creative sometimes to figure out like what's causing the resentment and how to reformulate your life to keep those boundaries pretty solid. So
Okay, very nice. Very cool. Well, Jennifer, I know we're getting close on time. I always ask at the end about a piece of advice. So this may be something that you've already touched on and maybe feel like elaborating on it or just restating it. Sometimes when I ask it, somebody or some people come up with something brand new that strikes them. But I just
the
ask you, like,
pressure's
what is,
on.
yeah, right? Like any of the above
No,
is
okay.
just great. Any of the above. Well, what is a piece of advice, like your best piece of advice you give to others on their journey in optometry, knowing what you know at this time?
I think to assume that most people are doing the best they can, even if they're not, just assume they're not there to ruin your day. No. So I feel like a lot of, at least like sometimes staff will be like, can you believe this patient? I thought,
Mm,
let's just get curious. That's another one. Get curious. Figure out
okay.
why they slept in their contacts for 3 months. They're not here to ruin your day. They're doing the best they can.
That is great. And I got to backtrack. Wait, are you saying that's a bad thing? Sleep in your contacts for 3 months? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Don't do that, people. I don't have to tell this audience
Please.
that. I'm not admitting to anything, but there's very good. Jennifer, how do people connect with you or where can they find you if they want to reach out and connect or learn more about what you do?
So the easiest way is probably LinkedIn, and that's just my name, Dr. Jennifer Martin Maples. And I'm on Facebook under the same name. And Instagram, it's a little cheeky little handle, but it's the iMaven. so
The
so
I
I'm on
Maven? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome.
there in TikTok. So all the things. But
Nice.
LinkedIn's probably the easiest.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. This is very insightful, very informative, and I'm sure glad we were able to take the time to do it. So thank you for your time and I look forward to talking to you again soon, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You bet.